Support for this podcast comes from the first one with DJ Khaled, a new podcast only available on Amazon Music.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Khaled, and this is the first one. I talk to the most iconic artists on the planet about songs that didn't change the game, but changed their life. We hear from all the A-list music stars like J Balvin, Nas, and Kelly Rowland, who tell their stories about their first hits that took them to being overlooked to being overbooked. Join me every Thursday, only on Amazon Music.
You're now listening to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three relatively grown men binge the iconic HBO series Sex and the City. So dust off those DVDs and grab yourself a white wine or even a Cosmopolitan and settle in. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three guys, for the last time ever, watch Sex and the City for the first time ever, mostly. I'm Cory Cavin.
My name is Kevin James Doyle.
I'm Jon Sieber, and oh boy, we've come to the end.
This is the end.
This is our oxygen packs are low. We only have a few little protein things left, but here we are ascending the top of Mount Everest. We've lost some
to Bradshaw Boy.
We've lost. Any second, you will have seen the whole show.
This is Darren Star to Bradshaw Boy.
We hope you like the show. And the girls really appreciate your commentary.
To be honest, we made this 20 years ago. We forgot about it. Oh yeah, that's right. You never watched it. Now you have. Welcome to the rest of society.
And what else we have to do after this is done? Lots of other stuff. Yo.
Like watching it again. We're not because this is our last. This is because this is our last first time ever. Mostly doesn't mean we're going to be out of your ears. Because
we're going to get deeper in.
First time ever.
Yeah. We're about to go. We're about to go harder, deeper, more in depth.
Think about it this way. Our original idea could have been this. Our original idea could have been like, hey, let's do a podcast on Sex and the City. But since we haven't seen it, we need to see it first. Let's watch it all the way through real quick. Then we'll start a podcast. So this is basically the beginning of the podcast. Once we finish this, now it's like finally we can start our podcast about Sex and the City because now we have some information.
Yeah. Or you could look at it this way. You like the 5-star tangents? You like the 4 Cosmo tangents? We've seen the whole show now. Now we can just really get tangential with you. We can
do an entire we will do an entire episode on Turtle Tab.
Yeah.
We'll do a whole episode on the mushrooms. Like we'll go all in. We'll have a mushroom forager on.
By the way, I've heard there's like a really good Amazon Netflix or Amazon doc called Fantastic Fungi, which is just about mushrooms. We'll watch that.
And
we'll find the actor that played Turtle Top.
Yeah.
Listen,
can't be hard.
We did it. I mean, last time we did like a check-in. Today, I guess, we've talked so much about how this came about, but it is like crazy. It's crazy to come to an end of a thing. It's, it's not the end, but to come to a conclusion of what we set out to do. So many podcasts John's in business. And so all you listeners know, like, we do this for fun. Like we are so thankful to have an audience. Like we didn't have, I think more than like 50 or 100 people listen to an episode until like maybe 2 years in. And, and it's really exploded the past like year. I think, last year, our Kristen Davis episode, I feel like gave us like some big traction. That was last December. And this past year, it's just grown and grown and grown. And it just means a lot that that we were able to go through this whole thing and learn and go through it with people that enjoy what we've been doing. And then also to not just stop 3 seasons in, because like we get tired of it and we're like, oh, it's hard to schedule. Like it's been, the more you've gotten into it as listeners, the more we've gotten into watching the show. And that has been like something we didn't expect, because you just wouldn't, you hope people listen, but it's been over and above, I think, our expectations. So thanks to everybody who's like followed this with us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you've been there from the beginning, thank you so much. And if you came in the middle, thank you so much. And if this is your first episode, wow, you should go back and listen to some other ones. You must be
extremely confused.
You are like, what did I get into?
This is how I know that not everybody goes back and listens from the beginning, because the first year we would get so many people that were just like, fuck this episode. There's like a specific episode that people hated, and we don't get that. We haven't got that message for a while. So I was like, there's some people that are skipping some F's in season 2.
You know what? When I tell people to watch Parks and Rec, which is a show that I absolutely love, I will tell people, just skip the first season. Just don't watch the first season. Start with the second season. That's when they start figuring things out. And then if you're a fan of the show, then you can watch the first season.
Then you can go learn about the pit. You can learn about the pit, the Pawnee pit.
Exactly. That might have been.
They wrote.
What was that?
Wait,
we had a little hiccup.
I was going to say
online hiccup.
They wrote that whole season without ever airing an episode.
Really?
Which is how we did our podcast. We did the first 5 episodes without releasing. And then once they started going out, we were like, oh, we need to figure out how to do this more. But it proves to what Kevin just said. Our audience interaction made it more fun, made it better. We loved getting to know all of y'all, and are excited to keep getting to know you as we go along.
Yeah, that's the thing that going off of what Kevin said, when we get like an email or a message on Instagram, or someone, reaches out with a specific question or concern for an episode, it really makes it feel real, and it makes it feel like this project has been worth it. That to know that other people are out there listening, engaging, and like into what we do feels really, 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 really good. So thank you so much. If you have listened, if you've contributed, if you have, joined us in any step along the way. And I do want to reiterate, we are going to rewatch the episode or the series. That is what you do with Sex and the City. You watch it until it's an old, comfortable baseball mitt. And that's what we plan on doing as well.
Yeah. Yep. And so that's a good time to say that we just got a recent iTunes review, and it was someone who said they're a longtime listener and they hadn't reviewed yet. And so I do want to say, please, if you haven't reviewed, this is your chance to say whatever you want. If you ask us a question in there, or you give a comment, like, we love looking at the funny reviews you guys make. And really, it super helps us. Megan Tross just put up a review, and she said, I'm a longtime listener, just now getting around to writing a review. Listening to you guys every week is so much fun, a whimsical experience. Their banter with each other is great. And she said, all in all, a 5 Cosmo rating. So please give us a 5 Cosmo rating. And it means a lot. And it just helps us.
There's been a lot of people recently that say they're having a difficult time, or it took them a while to tell the difference between Cory and Kevin's voice.
Yeah.
Do you guys think you have similar sounding voices?
Well, the entire podcast I've been doing a Kevin impression. So that's why you're tripped up. This is my Kevin impression. Yeah, exactly. I haven't got the laugh down yet.
Yeah, it's funny. We've never heard that until, I guess like, because people can see our face. So we're, but yeah, so just so you know, this is Kevin. Hi.
And this is Cory. Hi.
John.
And this is John.
Did we sound
doing Kevin's laugh?
Hell yeah.
Cackle.
Dude. Kristen Davis commented on I said it was our last episode, and Kristen Davis put on the crying emoji under our thing. Probably it was the crying emoji because she's like, oh fuck, they're gonna ask me again to be on their podcast. I bet. She's crying. No. She's like, oh, here it comes. Here comes the ass.
She's like, She's like, oh gosh, here
Dude,
it is.
but you know
Once this
what?
vaccine
We did a
happens,
call
they're
in
gonna come out to LA.
We did a call in last time. We could do a Zoom with her this time, and
That's right.
Yeah,
So
we totally could.
Now
yeah.
that Zoom's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember when we started this podcast, I would say only 5% of the world knew what Zoom is.
Yeah.
Now everyone, my parents were talking about Zoom and stuff up. I got invited to a Zoom holiday, not
That's
by
so
my
wild.
parents. They were like, you can come home. But yeah, I mean, it's like, that's how we're doing the podcast now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we did this, we were like, we have to go to the studio, which we love going to the studio and miss going to
We're
the
like
studio.
Drake. We just love being in the studio.
Gosh, so much. Yeah.
Yo, I
I
know
feel most alive.
I went pretty ham on the Martin Grable content this weekend, but I will say this: the amount of
Rightfully so.
well, yeah.
Grable's a gem. Grable is a
fan of Grable.
legend.
I would just say here's the difference, and I think this was represented in people's comments. But like when I put the very first post I put on was just a picture of him and explaining how he's actually like one of the great men of the series because he has a great job. He's very cultured. He is a gentleman. He like has great party banter. And then I honed in on the pomegranate thing because that's literally like a very sexual fruit. Like since like biblical times, it's like sexual.
Since ancient Greece, it's been sexual, right?
Ancient Greece. Isn't that Bible times?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Okay.
Well,
but yeah, I just know it's in like one verse in the Bible and it's like, dude, Solomon was so horny, just jerking off writing Bible verses. Songs of Solomon. Okay.
he just did his own version of Call Me By Your Name, except with a pomegranate.
With a pomegranate.
Like, oh, these seeds feel so good.
But people got really involved in explaining how like he was just like a great dude. And I think that's, I thought a bunch about it and I was like, it's really funny for us to hone in on weird guys, but there's also something that I thought about a bunch that was just like that they with Enid was like, yeah, when you get older, you like life isn't what you expect, but also if you like change your expectations instead of being like think of how not satisfied Carrie is in Paris right now. And that's like who Enid wants to be with. When really, like, if you adjust your expectations and be like, okay, so the guy's a little short, or okay, like, obviously you need to be attractive, but like, if you can change your expectations, it's like, dude, you're with like one of the great food connoisseurs of the world. And
thoughtful guy.
I feel like that's where all the characters are. That's like, you don't expect to get breast cancer. You don't expect to be singular, like live in Paris. You think you're going to have kids. You think you are, like not going to live in Brooklyn and, not expect to be like a mom. And yet like, that's where all of their happiness or their storylines are going to of like, life isn't going to go how you want. And we wouldn't have expected this in the first series when they're like, staring at the cameras being like, my name's Rick Jones and I love to fuck.
So crazy. Yeah.
And
yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I was like waxing all nostalgic as I was posting about Martin Grable, but I was also like, that's just so life that like you're zoned in on what you think it's going to look like. And then if you let go of that, you can end up being in some great relationship.
Yeah, some Grable relationship.
That's a very astute observation, and I do love that it's from an episode, 2 episodes back. Didn't even happen last week on American in Paris Part 1.
It didn't, but that's the last one that's out.
Splat's a classic. Splat's a classic.
What I mean,
Splat is a classic.
Also, last one took place so much in Paris. It's like that is. I guess we need to talk about that. Like, are we going back to New York?
No, we're staying in Paris with some. Well, I think we're staying in Paris.
In Paris?
I think we're staying in Paris with some. I think here's what's happening. We're staying in Paris with a couple New York, like little, not flashbacks, but just kind of like cutaways. And then I think we're ending in New York. I think we're going to be in Paris for a lot, and then I think we're ending in New York. He's like, "All right, kid, welcome home to the Big Apple." Not the big baguette.
Here's the question that I want to ask before we watch this episode.
Yeah.
What is the last 30 seconds of the series? What happens?
They're in a diner. He goes, "Hey kid, let's order onion rings for the table." And then a door opens and it goes black. That's what happens.
I think
Kevin?
it's a chat. I think it ends on a chat and chew with like a pull away camera as the girls are inside talking.
I want.
So you think? Hold on, Cory. You think Carrie and Big in a diner? Kevin, you think all?
No. I don't think Carrie and Big in a diner. I was kidding. I was doing the Sopranos ending. I don't think that. I have a question for Kevin after he says it. Well, first of all, does anyone?
That's what mine was.
None of us know the ending.
No,
none of us know the ending at all, right?
No, it could be Skipper pouring himself a bowl of cereal for all we know.
Hell yeah.
I think it could be the four of them at a diner.
Yeah.
I
think it's them like walking.
My other
down the street.
Is it her in her apartment?
Oh yeah, like doing a final column. Maybe I wonder if she gets back and she's like, "Can I do one more?" And they're like, "Oh yeah," or if she just does what George Costanza does and just goes back and like pretends she never left her job. I mean, I wonder if there's a last column.
Or I wonder if there's a her walking down the street solo moment.
That's what I was thinking.
It's her in New York. After she's had a little tie up with the girls, after she's had a tie up with Big, because we know Big is going to get her. If she has a solo, I'm the girl in New York, and New York is the fifth character, and I end up with the fifth character.
That's where I put my money. I put my money in her looking absolutely fabulous, alone on her street, walking down the street.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like guess. They have a get together, then she leaves it, or if they make some sort of plans to get together later, and she's fine. Because there's so much of her needing to be satisfied by people showing up, like on her, obviously, like I wonder if they have a get together, but at the end, if somehow she ends up by herself by accident, and instead of on her birthday, it's like, oh, it's beautiful. I get to be here, happy, alone. Yeah. I think there's something there, John.
Did you guys? I know we need to watch it. Did you guys see the very last Stefan sketch ever on SNL? The Stefan wedding?
No.
They basically, it's Stefan and Seth Meyers get married, and they show every single Stefan character reference that's ever happened. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And they all appear through this shot. What if it's just Carrie walking through, and she walks by these old characters. Capote Duncan's there. She walks by all the guys, all the construction workers yelling at her. Len Schneiderman. She walks into the air. It's just one long tracking shot.
Dude, that'd be sick if she went to if she went to Madame Tussauds and it's just all the guys from Sex and the City. And they're just like but they use
face lickers there.
They use the real actors, but they make them up to look like they're wax figures, so they're like kind of like moving a little. It's like not done well.
Dude, that is so dumb. All right,
old man ass is there, turned around.
Old man.
Let's watch the episode. Right. And we'll see you all on the other side.
Well,
I wish we could be doing this in person, but
I do too.
We'll see you boys in 45 minutes.
See you guys in a little bit. See you in 45.
See you in 45. Bye.
Episode 94. An American Girl in Paris, Part 2. Carrie is desperately lonely in Paris as Alexander is spending so much time on his new exhibit. The chemo treatments are killing Samantha's sex drive. Miranda must take care of Steve's mother after she has a stroke. Charlotte and Harry try to adopt a baby. Big finds Carrie in Paris and says the words she's been waiting to hear for 6 long years. And now, back to the boys.
Hey there. The holidays are here, so it's good to know Kroger can save you some time with free pickup on all your fresh favorites. Whether your traditions call for a hearty helping of juicy ham, ample apple pie, or Aunt Sue's legendary twice-stuffed stuffing, Kroger has got you covered. So order for free pickup at Kroger.com or the app and get more time to get your holiday on when you grab your groceries curbside. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply.
Support for this podcast comes from The First One with DJ Khaled, a new podcast only available on Amazon Music.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Khaled, and this is the first one. We hear from all the A-list music stars like J Balvin, Nas, and Kelly Rowland about songs that didn't change the game, but changed their life.
It's almost like sometimes before you even get in the industry, it's like you set up to fail. And there's so many moments where you can win. And the winning is great, but it's so many things that you go through to get to the win.
And so much more, who tell their stories about their first hits that took them to the next level, changed their life, overlooked to being overbooked.
When I was recording the song, I already knew it was going to be a global hit. And I'm not joking, my G. I really felt it inside of me. I was like, I just can't wait to see it number one.
Join me every Thursday with the first one drops only on Amazon Music. Let's go.
You've got the love. You got the love.
You got the love. You got the love.
I mean,
man.
Wow.
Who got emotional? That's what I want to. Let's just get right to it. Who got emotional?
100%. Listen. I teared up a couple times. I also raised my hands in triumph at another point.
Kevin, you get emotional?
Do you know what the term frisson means? Frisson?
Frisson?
Yes. Frisson is the scientific. It is the bodily thing when you get goosebumps. That's what it's scientifically called. And I got frissoned up a few times. I was waiting for a teardrop to fall, but I think it was because I had to do my camera work too. I was a little worried about that, but the tears welled up. They just didn't drop.
I had some wells. I don't know if I had any drops, but definitely I had more than one well.
Oh,
Johnny?
Man. Yeah. Dude, I think fantastic acting all the way around. Just everyone in this episode, just their acting chops came out tenfold, and unbelievable performances.
Just
tenfold.
Also,
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think when my top emotional moment was when Charlotte and Harry see their baby for the first time. That was that for me was hit me really hard. I'm so happy for them, and the arc of that character line where they lost the baby, and then just he gets it in the mail, and they look at that picture. She looks at the picture for the first time, and the tears just start flowing down her face. Ooh,
yeah. I think
that was tough.
I just thought it was like from a general tonal perspective, is such like a bold choice to literally just, like there's been serious episodes before, but like that was a generally not typical Sex and the City episode at all. It was very heavy.
Right.
It was very emotional. Yeah. And for it to feel not out of place at all and be like, it feels like a bold, perfectly executed, strong choice. And not just like, it's the end of the series. It's like they pushed further past like what they had to be like, come on, it's a series finale. There's got to be a tear moment. Like all four storylines were fucking real.
Yeah.
And they just nailed it.
Yeah.
Also, Tim Van Patten's one of the main directors for The Sopranos.
Okay.
And he
directed that?
Yeah. And then I believe he was one of the creators. I could be wrong, but he was one of the creators of Boardwalk Empire, I believe. So he is just like, he's directed some other Sex and the City episodes, but he's just like, he's like a directing beast. And I feel like there were some shots in there that I was like, man, this is like a film. This is like going to the next level.
It is. Yeah. It really, I feel like the past couple episodes of season 6 the writing style was like more kind of movie-ish, and it was like flashier, but yeah, that one completely felt like a movie. Totally.
Yeah.
The setups and everything. All the museum stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of like they did some like longer shots, and there was some like some of the more poetic, like when they zoomed in on like the hand holding at the museum.
Yeah.
And there was some with it saying Petrovsky in the back while she's sitting there. Like there's stuff like that it's, very all out.
How perfect is his name stacked on top of one another, though? Alexander and Petrovsky just fitting perfectly on top of each other was like such design.
I was like,
point.
man, that is Great fictional artist.
That name is like, it's like an artist or a designer. Like that is a very professional name.
Yeah.
Let Jon. Oh, go ahead. You can tell that we're all like chomping at the bit because we keep talking over each other, but then we're also like, no, you go ahead.
So I'll give a quick summary. I think the through line for or the last thing that she writes as she is doing her last column is she talks about relationships, specifically finding love. She says there's new and exotic relationships. There's those that are old and familiar, those that bring up lots of questions, unexpected. There's those that are far from where you started, those that bring you back. There's the most exciting and the challenging relationship of all of them is the one you have with yourself. And if you find someone to love the you love, well, that's just fabulous. And so I think it was this last episode was about real, true love. And I think this was exemplified with Big finally telling Carrie that he loves her, that he messed up and that he chooses her. It was seen with Charlotte and Harry getting a baby. It was seen with finally Samantha and Smith flying back to tell her that he loves her and her opening up through the chemo. And then Miranda in her love of Mary, Steve's ma, who had a small stroke. And that last scene with her washing Mary in the bathtub and Magda kind of seeing that. So it was just overall just a love episode.
Also, not only that, but something that you have talked about, Jon, in the past, which I think we all believe, but I feel like you've brought it up a few times in relation to philosophy and like your relationship with Katie and stuff. But the criticism of their representations of love sometimes are it's feeling based, and all four of those storylines, it was all action based.
Totally.
It was all love through. It wasn't Big being like, I love you, babe. It was like, fuck it, I'm going.
Showing up.
I'm showing up.
Smith showing up.
And
Miranda washing her mother-in-law.
Yeah, she can live here in our house and ruin like the fun vibe we were supposed to have. And I'm going to sacrifice to have like a better life. And then,
just eating trash pizza, taking mini Steve to the zoo.
Being a real life pizza rat out on the streets, dragging around New York City pizza.
That's love.
Pizza rat IRL.
That is the definition of love, is when your mother-in-law is eating trash.
Adopting pizza rat, taking him home, giving him a bath, saying, get out of the subway, pizza rat. You live here now. That's real love.
All right. So
there's also a thing.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and we can talk about this more at the end, but thematically, not only was it action-based love, but all of the characters, like they did the full circle of the like they came back to where they were, but they changed.
Mm-hmm.
So like Samantha is now in a committed relationship, and it's so funny that they just end on that ridiculous Samantha sex scene.
Dude, was Smith doing like crunches while he was having sex?
I think so.
Dude, he's just working
doing
those
like half crunches.
I think
saw that.
Their direction was like, this needs to be your biggest orgasm of all time. And it was like, I guess there have been so many from hers. It can only go comedic, but it was just like, what?
It was nice to have the shot pull around and show the spring flowers in bloom.
Yeah.
But like, he told her, I flew back. Like, is there any better reason than to tell you I love you? And she was like, in a classic Samantha would have been like, I can think of 69 other reasons. but she stopped and she said, no, I can't think of a better reason. And she's like, you love me. And so she found love. Charlotte makes a full circle. Miranda makes this full circle from being her, I'm a powerful woman that can do what I want, to still being able to do that, but choosing the sacrifice, and then the Carrie and Big thing too.
Yeah. Let's start with Samantha. Do you think that shot was supposed to show like this is her having sex is the one thing that she is really good at and that she loves, but sex for her was always void of love? It was just fucking for her. and it was just something she did because it felt great. Do you think that was supposed to show her having sex in like a loving, committed relationship?
Well,
and
I think they painted themselves into a corner because you can't like do the Samantha version of jumping shark and be like, this isn't based in the character. If I were to write that episode, that was literally the only part of the show that made me just be like, like not, I didn't want that to happen, but I was like, I don't know, but I can get it. I feel like it was a maybe not perfectly executed version of like, this is more than just I'm having an orgasm. Yeah. To me, it just didn't come off like that.
For me,
no,
I
think that's what they're going for. To me, I think the Samantha thing happened when Smith told her that he flew back. I think that was a comedic thing that they chose.
Okay,
to be
that
like,
makes
let's
sense.
Have one other crazy. But I think that she'd already made her thing there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's Samantha's ending. I think Samantha's ending is like when she tells Smith that line of like, "You have loved me more than any other man."
Yeah.
And you've meant more to me, or whatever.
Yeah,
she said. So like, I think that was her thing.
And then she's back to Then she's
the
just
last
back
one was
to,
like a comedic jab because she's still Samantha.
I think Samantha's ending would have been her bulldozing Richard Wright's hotel and erecting her like love palace to Smith in a power suit and a construction hat.
Yeah, and just being like,
that would have been amazing.
She just like has like a button clicker.
Not even looking behind her, just walking away from an explosion.
I mean, I do. On one hand, it's like, I thought it was an interesting way for them to handle it because they've done her things before that she's like, sex means a lot to me, baby. But it's like people older and longer relationships and older, like that's why Viagra's so popular, and that's why those commercials, it's like those that having a loss of libido can be destructive and painful in a relationship. And so of all the people that you would expect to lose their libido, it's going to be her. And so I thought they did a really good job taking her I'm Samantha thing and being like, Samantha doesn't want sex anymore. And like I was saying, that for them to go bold with it, because if this was season 4 and just like with a boyfriend, she'd be like, oh, I don't want to fuck anymore. I guess I'm fucked, like, haha. And instead, I thought that they just handled it with so much, like, I don't know, like that's even said, there's this really intense movie called Breaking the Waves. It's a Lars von Trier movie. And this guy gets paralyzed. So he tells his wife he can't have sex anymore. So he tells his wife she can go like have sex with whoever she wants to satisfy herself. And then it's like this kind of tragic movie. And so I do think it's a huge thing. Like that Samantha said that. Also, it's really powerful that he said no. And then also like that they didn't take the easy way out, and that they chose each other. I thought that was just like such a crazy, heavy, cool way to handle Samantha's deepest desires as a character.
Totally.
Yeah. And then they get to have that like fun sex shot where it's like they still get to have that thing together that they wanted and they liked and everything.
If only he was wearing his Attila the Hun outfit though in the last sex scene, it would have made it a little bit better. And her dressed
or if it was like it was like in Scary Movie. Do you know in Scary Movie? In Scary Movie, the guy ejaculates and she like shoots off of him and hits the ceiling.
Oh my gosh!
Is that the same scene where the guy puts on like goggles and gets out a hedge trimmers when he notices she has a giant bush?
Well, we're now a Scary Movie podcast, so buckle up.
Hey, welcome to the Scary Movie dudes.
Let's talk about Charlotte and Harry.
Let's talk about Charlotte and Harry.
Dude, when they had that couple over to their apartment.
Do you mean the couple from Charlotte, North Carolina, my hometown?
Fucking dumb idiots. Like, wear a condom, you fucking idiot.
Hey man, listen, I just, first of all, we're second cousins, okay? So like that's the first thing here. We're dumb idiots. New York. Hey, we won't. Hey, can we get on a double-decker bus to go to the airport? Dude. Is that possible, Mr. Harry?
When they said Charlotte,
I thought locks is what you put on your locker.
I was like, Corey's gonna be so annoyed right now because Corey already like tells you sometime like whenever people are just like, yeah, all fucking 200 million people in the South are racist and dumb. Like you hate those poor representations of Southern people.
Well, I know.
And this is just like that. We won't have that, baby. We gonna have that, baby.
Well, What's also so I mean, here's the thing. Like, I totally get it, and like I'm used to it. It's funny though because this is 20 years ago, but it's also funny now because like with pandemic and things, there've been so many New Yorkers that have moved to Charlotte and that like live in Charlotte now because it's like a big financial hub. But it was funny that they picked Charlotte as opposed to they picked Charlotte because her name. Because her name, yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
But there's so many other more redneck places in North Carolina, like where that could actually happen, and like that's the biggest city in the country.
And they chose Charlotte because they don't have good sex education in their schools, and those people are like, "What?
Oh, it's
coming
terrible.
in, you made a baby."
Terrible. You know, we haven't talked about this in the podcast, but the first time I visited New York was with my pregnant high school girlfriend to go for a baby adoption.
So you tried the locks though.
Hey, the locks are fantastic. I was like, I'm moving here soon and I'm going to start a podcast.
I would have loved if that guy was like, I never seen a Jew up close before.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. It was like, wait, hold on. Jews invented locks? Hold on.
Where's that?
Is this like the Maccabees stuff I learned about in church?
Where's that silly hat you guys usually have on?
Oh man. I did really like I liked the line with Charlotte. Like, it was pretty interesting that Charlotte was kind of the strong person in this, you know, which was cool. She was the source of strength for Harry. And it was like
which I think was important to show.
And it was a very cute and funny line for her to say, like, we're Jews. We've been through more. Like, that was, it was like funny Jewish humor. Also, it was just really sweet of her and really good to see Harry break down. Like when he cried, another great acting moment of seeing the Poppy just like, you know, he's frustrated. He's sad too. But when we first started this journey, he was just like, okay, let's get my wife a baby, you know, whatever. I love her.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. I thought that, that was the thing that I was like, it played out. We talked about this before, but like it played out in their relationship where it's like they ended up, I think you said something like this, Kevin, where you were like, you know, if you don't stray from something, you don't know, you hold so tight onto one thing you're going to get. And they ended up getting what they wanted. But it's like, you look at Charlotte's life at the end, it's like this Harry, who's like the best, but like not at all what she was starting out with. And they get like, they really are going through so much. Last thing I'll say about the Charlotte couple real quick is another HBO show, Eastbound and Down. Eastbound and Down is the only comedic show that does a legitimate, hilarious and accurate portrayal of Southerners.
But they're
so
from
spot
there.
on, and it's yeah. I mean, they're from Virginia and North Carolina, but it's like it's so spot on, and it
Dude,
like
Leslie
doesn't give it a
Schaefer,
pass.
BMW, woo,
dude,
so good.
I mean, it's amazing. Woo, woo. Deep in my plums. But yeah, I mean, I think that theirs was their entire, besides Charlotte being at the final chat and chew, was. No, never mind. I was going to say, I thought her entire storyline took place in the apartment, but she also
had a
went to
scene
Miranda's.
she had a scene
with Miranda.
And she had a scene shopping in the beginning.
With Anthony.
With Anthony.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which was like a great goodbye to Anthony. I wish we would have had Willie Garcia.
I just thought of that.
I was a little sad we didn't get a Stanford goodbye. It kind of makes sense in the sense that Carrie was gone the whole time, and so you usually get Stanford when you get Carrie, but that was a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, imagine the pressure when you're in the writer's room or you're sitting down with this, talking like how many different directions you can go, and how do you have to please the fans and you have to tell the story. You can't go off the rails and be like, we're writers, we're going to write whatever we feel. Like, you have to have the fans in mind and the viewers, but you also have to be like, probably be like, listen, we have this posted on the wall for Stanford storyline and we can't get it. And it didn't, you know, it's a bummer that I haven't, but it didn't feel like it was missing actually.
Yeah.
Really? I did feel like it was missing a little bit. I feel like they showed him enough to where he, for me, was like the New York character. He is like, another fabulous side of Carrie, and I don't know where they would have put him. Maybe like in the montage of like her talking about finding love and finding like you are the most important person to love. I feel like they could have had like a quick Stanford scene in
just
there.
One little quick
exactly
thing.
Yeah.
just to get the whole cast and crew in there, you know?
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I know. I feel like that would have been nice to have that in there. I was thinking, I was like, maybe he could have met her and Big at the airport, but I don't know. I'm just like shoehorning it.
I'm trying to not rush through, but hit all these points because I do want to end with obviously Carrie, Petrovsky, and Big, which leads us to Steve and Miranda. And we'd be remiss if we didn't do one final Bradshaw Boys season 1 podcast within a podcast.
Steve Talk.
I
gotta say before we go into this, I have to say for the listeners, I think they got they kind of got the short end of the stick last time. The French Steve Talk that wasn't really a Steve Talk was not a good Steve Talk. I've thought about this like for a week, and that one should have been Steve. I focused too much on trying to speak the tiny bit of French that I can't speak. It should have just been Steve like trying to make his way around Paris. So that one wasn't good. So we definitely need a redemption of that one.
I'm thinking that this Steve Talk could be Steve overhearing Miranda asking Big to go get our girl, and him taking it upon himself to hatch a plan to get Carrie from France.
Okay. Get like how? Yeah. Like
Kevin, I think you should play like the ticketing agent at the Air France flight, and Steve, you can explain to the agent how you're going to go. Who Carrie is and how you're going to go get her from Paris.
Gotcha. Okay, here we go,
ladies and gentlemen.
Season 1, final.
Well. It's a favorite time. It's a favorite guy. It's Steve Talk. Miranda.
Hello and welcome to an edition of Steve Talk. Hello. How may I help you, please, with your?
Hey, I don't have a lot of time. How's it going? Hey, my name's Steve. So my wife, Miranda, she's okay, hold on. I'm all jazzed up because I first of all
take a deep breath right now. Have a cigarette.
Thank you. Oh man, I hadn't smoked since this one crazy night at the bar when Aiden was there with his stogies. Okay, thank you. Okay, here's the deal.
Is he still a part owner of the bar? They never totally explained.
You've been to Scout before. Yeah, he's a part owner of the bar. He's great. It's like he's got the furniture business. He's putting in a new marble wood. It's a marbled wood thing. It's going to be really nice. Yeah, it's cool. How do you know Aiden? Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Sorry. No, we got to get the girl. Have you ever seen the movie Ransom with Mel Gibson? So I'm thinking,
we got to get classic.
Carrie. It's so good, right? That movie's amazing. Like, there's that one scene where they push that girl down those stairs and her knee bends like this. It's crazy. It's like the violence is realistic at the end. He's all cut up.
So what would you like to do right now, please?
Oh, you know what? I don't have a passport.
You need to go get a passport. I think
I'll be right back. Hey, next week, come by Scout. I'll give you we're having free shots on Wednesday.
It's Steve Talk. Miranda.
Wow. Steve, he's going to go get the girl.
Steve Talk.
He forgot, dude, that's a classic mistake. You forgot your passport, and then Big's like,
he doesn't have a passport.
He forgot that he didn't have one.
I could see him trying to borrow Maz and playing it off as his.
He shows his New York ID, which is like a New York City ID, and he's like, "This gets me into all the museums."
Hey, listen, I think it gets me into the Louvre. So, is there a way that I could get on the plane to get to the Louvre? You can't take a cab there.
Man,
they definitely. I think they did a good job. I would say of all the storylines, this was the biggest swing. Because this was they set it up and executed it all within this episode. There was nothing leading to it. Yeah. There was nothing they needed to do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they did with the whole ice cream or the whole dinner thing. Yeah, totally. Yeah, they pulled that, and it you're right. They really pulled that off from
conception to ending, and it was emotional the whole freaking time. And the like Miranda chasing her down the street, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the chase scene because it's happening. It's coinciding at the same time that Carrie is running through Paris trying to find a cab for her party. Miranda is running through New York trying to find Mary, and there's a scene where Carrie kind of turns, and then Big is sitting in the back of a car.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I was thinking that they were going to do something similar with Miranda, like Mary was going to be like on a horse and buggy going through Central Park or something like that. But
she just doesn't see her. Oh my gosh.
She just turns, and it's Ma just drinking a Budweiser.
Just in a pedicab behind Miranda.
But they didn't
do it like 11 times. They're like in like Macy's, and she's like sitting on Santa's lap, and then Miranda's like, where? And they keep on running.
It's just it's like that meme of John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, like looking around for the gun.
Yes, exactly.
It's just Mary
running through Times Square, and Mary's just working a pretzel cart. She's like, where is she?
The great Miranda caper. Yeah, I mean, I think this one's a crazy one because it's like I guess Miranda's kind of had the entire cycle of, she's the only one. I think this is maybe where the storyline came from, but like she's the only one that is going to experience, at least in this series, the full cycle of life of having a kid, having a family and a mother, and having, and then ultimately like people age and then you have to take care of them. And it's like, and she's the most independent woman and the most like, I can handle my business. I'm a lawyer. And so it's weird. She kind of ends up having one of the most traditional motherly roles. And I thought Anne Meara did such a great job, to like, usually she plays that part for comedy. And here it's like, it was the same character, but there was like a heaviness to it that you're like, oh man.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah. And there's, I liked how much we got a Magda too at the end. Like Magda, they kind of have Magda basically step in as like a kind of a surrogate mother for Miranda a little bit too. And I remember people kept being like, oh, you're going to get like more Magda, but that was great to have her. Like,
I loved it. It was great.
Really as a part of the family at the end.
Let's finish here with the Carrie Petrovsky Big storyline. So we talked about her getting stranded at the museum and just the movie like imagery of the hand and her being Petrovsky's support kind of when he needed it, and then him abandoning her and the symbolism there. But I'd love to talk about Petrovsky, specifically Carrie and Petrovsky's wife, and this phrase like as soon as that got planted in Carrie's brain, that like as long as you're comfortable with kind of this shallow promise, then you can be with Petrovsky. But it is just this always approaching, never arriving kind of commitment that he can give to you. And was Petrovsky clear about that? Because he seems to think that he was very upfront and transparent as to who he was. And I would be curious to hear if you guys thought he was transparent or if Carrie was fabricating that he wasn't.
I would say that he processes his transparency differently. He says, I'm an artist. He says this, but there's nobody who can actually be in an actual relationship if somebody is ditching them all the time. Because it's not just like he can maybe feel that way because he wants his independence, but that would be predicated on the fact that he doesn't abandon her at the museum. That was solely based on insecurity. I need you there because I'm insecure. What if this 27-year-old doesn't like my art? He does. I don't need your support anymore. So, so if he said like, this is late, but I'll tell the museum we still have plans. Like he's going above and beyond what his promise was. So they're talking about two different things. She's like, here's these 5 concrete examples of like, I'm signed up for you to be independent, but like you ditched me. You did this, like, and so my guess too, based on his wife, is I bet a month after this, after his premiere, he wouldn't break those promises. He would be like, so he justifies like, oh my gosh, it's my art. That's why I'm doing it. But that allows him to break all these promises, which you can only handle so much when you're on the end of the broken promise. And for him, he's like, come on, I'm Alexander Petrovsky. Don't you see my name? So I'm fucking like, what do I need to tell you? Like, this is more important than a relationship for me. And he was clear about that, but he's never going to feel like he's so yeah, that's my assessment. I have another sentence, but I can't figure out what it is, but that's it.
I think that, I agree with you in that, like, that's just always the way it's going to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be that something will always come up and something will always be there. And his idea of, I guess your question was, John, was he clear about that? I think that he thinks he was clear because his view of a relationship is, no, like, we're together. I got to do this stuff. This is the entire reason why we're in Paris. And I'm not justifying that. I'm just saying, like, that's what he's married.
He's married to the game.
He's been married to the game for a while. He invented the game, but I think he thinks he was clear about it. My question for you, John, because I thought about this, is when him and Carrie are having that fight, I do think we got to talk about the slap, but like, I do think that him being like, I'm taking a shower and going to bed, that was, you got to show up, and he wasn't showing up there.
Yeah.
There was a simple thing though, where I was like, was there a misunderstanding when Carrie and him were having that thing where it was like, when she was like, I'm having my party Saturday, and he was like, oh, that's the night I go to jury for the museum. I was like, is this just a relationship thing, or is that like a missed opportunity to be like, oh, do you want me to be there? Should I reschedule with these people that want to have a party for me? Like, is it, how do you feel? Like, it seems like that, and that was like a setup conflict for the show.
Yeah.
But that to me already seemed like, okay, you're going to have 2 things at once. And then he has this anxiety attack, and, and like, that happens in a relationship where it's like, I can't go. I already have this thing, but I want to be there for you. But that was this thing where I was like, maybe from the get-go, they should have just been like, hey, maybe you don't plan 2 things at once, and maybe ask her to come to your thing with you.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue with their relationship is ultimately what she writes in the ending of the series is that, and I'm not sure if Petrovsky does this intentionally, but Petrovsky changed who Carrie was. And I'm not just talking about like her physical location or the fact that she took away from friends, but like
he cut off one of her legs.
He cut off one of her legs, but she became a person that no longer loved herself. And I think they did a good job with this like seeing the wine stain on the book that she had that she was like so excited about was like the kind of like the final straw of her breaking with him. But I mean, that is so important in any relationship. Like you have to put yourself first if you want a relationship to succeed. Now, I'm curious as to whether or not Petrovsky is the one that did that to Carrie, or if she subjected herself to that.
Wait, 2 questions.
Yeah.
2 questions for John.
I know.
You said,
are you going to make a joke?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I understand that I'm very funny, but I'm being serious right now. I'm not all jokes.
I thought you were going to make a wine stain joke. A wine stain. No. I was like, is there like, because I saw a glimmer in your eye, and I was like, I wonder if he's thinking the same thing I did.
Thinking wine stain?
Wine stain.
No.
Okay, got it.
No, I was going to say, 1, how did he change her? And 2, you just said You just said in order to make a relationship work, you have to always be putting yourself first. Did you mean putting the other person first, or did you mean putting yourself first?
I'm saying like not. I misspoke. Not like putting yourself first in terms of needs, but you have to love yourself and who you are in order to step up to a relationship. If you dislike yourself, or if you are trying rather to be someone else that you are not, I think the relationship is going to be built on a false ground. Yes, there's a big difference between putting yourself first. I think you should, in a relationship, it behooves both parties, if you are trying to serve and honor the other person as best as you can, but you have to love yourself. And Carrie, in that episode, I saw as someone who was uncertain as to who she was. She changed who she was in order to try to fit into what Petrovsky wanted out of a relationship. And I think that, it was not just the necklace that she didn't have. It was not just the like giving up her friends and giving up her job, but she truly removed herself from everything that made her Carrie to try to make this relationship work. And I don't think that is possible in a relationship to work.
It's possible for the exact amount of time that they were in their relationship.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like you can do that. And you can be like, oh my gosh, like this is, because it is that. It's always like, oh my gosh, look at, like, life is great. Why am I not happy? Like, I'm in Paris. I'm with this guy who's doing this. Like it's when it checks the physical boxes of what a cool life would look like, but it's not your life, that you get into trouble. And that's where I will say that, like, Petrovsky was kind of clear on what that would look like. And in that sense, I would just say, like, it's not a match. Like, that's where Miranda was correct, but Carrie had to go through that in order to learn that lesson. Like, you can't learn that from your friend. Your friend, that's their job to do it, but you have to learn that lesson on your own. Like, I think this is, like, probably minus, like, the rich and famous, like, artist, like, the circumstances feel crazy, but it is the most common relationship thing that you see as an adult, is like two people that, like, change to be with one another. And then, and this is just it ramped up. Usually it's just like small little daily things that don't involve the luxury of, like, a beautiful city and sex and all the, the fashion. But I feel like this is probably one of the most realistic experiences I've been in my own life, and with other people who I'm like, yeah, your life is totally different, Jon, than it was before you were with Katie. Like, circumstantially, but, like, you're the same person, even though so many things are different, because you're in a good relationship. And because you didn't change yourself and she didn't change herself, you guys came as full people into one.
And I've never accidentally slapped Katie. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Always on purpose.
Have you purposely slapped her?
No, come on.
I'm coming up to the 6th floor, Jon. I'm coming up right now.
Why do you think they made that slap? I mean, in my opinion, he had his hand, like, cocked. But, like, why do you think they made that an ambiguous slap? Somewhat like that had to be a choice, right?
Yeah, totally.
I think
that there was a little bit of it where it was like, it was an accident.
He did have a panic attack earlier in the show, so I think it's almost more like this dude does not.
Speaking of Weinstein,
but no, he doesn't have he doesn't have, like, I think it's like he's letting all of his artistic energy and all of his stress, all of that, he's all consuming, looking at himself, to the fact that it came out. And it's like, it was ambiguous, because for him, he's like, oh my gosh, like, it wasn't on purpose. But in another sense, it was on purpose, because it's like, you didn't mean to slap her, but you did have your rage come out, and a person's face happened to be there when you didn't mean, you know what I mean? So it's almost like it wasn't the same as, like, full on just like, stop it.
Yeah. But I don't think they couldn't have done that, because, like, then the tone of the like last episode would have been like, we need to find like Petrovsky and destroy him. Like, yes, it was a serious thing. Yes, it's horrific when anyone slaps someone else, but she was able to like settle Big down, fall, laugh about it.
Yeah.
And he was even able to make a joke about it. And you as a viewer were able to like step past it.
It's to plant a little bit of a seed of like, it was an accident, but was it? And also it just paints this sort of thing where it's like, there's been so many little things like that where it's like a coldness and a callousness and a misconnection kind of thing. And then they did it last episode, but like he went to try to like fix the necklace, and that's the necklace he gave her, and it broke. And earlier on, she found the Carrie necklace, which I thought was so cool how she found it in that bag.
Yeah.
Like
the slap was just
I thought it was gone forever.
Strike 10. You know what I mean? It's like we're
basically, yeah.
It's like, okay, strike 3 was a while ago. And this is definitely the straw that broke the Russians' back. And then we got to cover Big, because the reason why I'd be very forgiving to Big is that what I said earlier, that it's like he showed up in action, and it's like we all make stupid mistakes in life. I can't imagine finishing this series and really saying that Carrie and Aiden could be together. It's so obvious that they should be together for better or for worse, like of their personalities, that like
Carrie and Big.
Yeah. Carrie and Big.
Okay. Yeah.
And I do think that like if from here
and
on
she
out,
picked up a smoking habit again. Aiden's not going to stand for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It'll go when she's
smoking habit.
Yeah.
It's only a France thing.
But it's just like they really are, not in a way of like, I don't know. We get lots of people on Instagram. There will be some people that message right now and are just like, ah. But it's like they're really meant for each other. Like that was a really romantic, beautiful
100%
thing. And some people
100%.
are like, they deserve each other. It's like, well, like they're flawed characters.
Are you talking about Big or are you talking about John?
I'm talking about John.
I'm talking about John.
I'm talking about Big John.
Big John.
That's what I'm going to call him from now on. Big John.
What a reveal. What like a mystery. And then it's like the most common male name around. like
I mean, it is like such an English name where it's like, I'm John. John Miller.
Yeah. It's just like, I mean, like, why is it John?
I
don't know.
No idea.
You found out his name.
John with an H. With an H. Very different than mine.
I'm sure there were articles written the next day that were like, and we found out Mr. Big's name was ... John ? And then the byline, and then the article.
I wonder if
it's
they
like,
talked
it's like
about,
such a.
It would have been great if it just
I
said.
wonder if they talked about the writer's room.
Archibald or something. That's just like. She's like, hey babe. He's like, that's why I call myself Big, because. But yeah, I mean, I thought that was about as romantic as them seeing each other in the hotel. Like that's about as romantic as you get in the old movie films.
Yeah.
That was great. I know we gotta wrap things up soon, very soon. I wanted to ask you both, what is one thing that we did Roses and Thorns on part 1 for part 2, which would encompass the entire series. What's one thing that you have learned from this show, or it's changed your mind? It can also be like within that, but like, what's one thing that you think you've taken away from this, that you learned from this show as we've watched the whole thing?
I'll answer first, because I was thinking about this the other day, specifically with Charlotte's storyline. And I think something that I learned and something that's good for me to hear is not to fight expectations, not to that big changes can happen, and your life can be in a different spot than what you thought. And that can be, and oftentimes, a really good thing. And banging your head against the wall, trying to orchestrate your life the way that you played it out in your head is probably going to leave you in a tired, exhausted, lonely, and frustrated spot where this doesn't apply for all things, obviously, but it's like fighting the tide. Life is going to happen, and there are so many things that are wildly out of your control. And instead of fighting that, if you embrace those moments that are different, I think ultimately you will live a happier, more peaceful life than if you don't.
I would say that I don't know if my mind was changed, but I don't think I've ever seen a show that has made me like appreciate my life so much and my friends. And I feel like a lot of times, like, I don't know, to watch something that is so impactful from a male perspective, you have to watch like Band of Brothers or something that it's like so outside the norm of like my life, you know, that it'll get to the end of like a war movie and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like I got emotional because, but it's not like what my life looks like. And I think, you know, I do live in New York and I am in my 30s and I do have a lot of the same experience these characters do. And yet, like, I don't know, like probably, you know, I think about like one of the hardest times in my life was literally when I thought like my dick was going to fall off. And I was like, I thought I had an STD. And I rode back from a play that I had rehearsals in. And then I just like met Cory at a party at that bar that
at a bar.
And like Cory,
that bar that's closed. That's on 4th Avenue.
Yeah. And Cory like met me down the street and we just like sat on the street and I was just like bawling. And like, we just like sat and talked for like an hour to the point where people were like, where'd you guys go? And, you know, I was like, I think of things like that. I'm like, man, we get to do this together has been such a journey, but like seeing these girls' friendships, I'm like, I have friendships like those. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't have guy friendships that they can, you know, cry in front of, or, you know, we've gone through breakups together or like, you know, all kinds of intense emotional things. And I think like I appreciate you guys and my male friendships and some of my female ones too that are that close. And I think that is something that I think is maybe a rare thing to have. You know, I think like my grandma said, she's like, if you have as many great friends as you do fingers on one hand, then like you should count yourself lucky. And I'm like closing in on 2 hands, you know, and and to get to do this with you guys. So I love you and I appreciate the friendship.
Yeah. That's great. When you were talking about Band of Brothers and war movies, it just made me think that I worked at this one job, and at one of the urinals in the bathroom, someone had just written on the wall, "Earn this ... which is the line at the end of.
I haven't seen it. I just said it.
And I'm not talking about Band of Brothers.
Oh,
I'm talking about, I mean, this is a total spoiler, but it's been 20 years. It's the end of Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, okay.
It's when and it's what it's what Matt Damon says, and then he's standing at his grave and he just goes, "Earn this."
And it's just at a urinal.
It's just at a urinal. It's like, "Earn this." Anyway, I think that those are both great takeaways. And I think that I was thinking this in the last Big and Carrie scene where, and it's weird, I think, to take this from a show that is unrealistic about relationships sometimes, but not always. But I think that I learned that, you know, I sort of came into the show very much in the Carrie mindset of like, you know, she even has that one speech where she's like, "I want a love that's crazy." And, you know, her last speech to Alexander. And as she was saying that, I was like, I don't know if that's realistic. And she ends up with that with Big.
But I want that too.
But I think that I had always thought that stuff is supposed to click. And I think that I learned through this show, and probably like through our lives as we're doing the podcast, but that a lot of that involves choices and, you know, showing up for yourself, like Jon was saying. And it involves essentially like living a life. And only by doing that and by showing up and being present to the things that are happening around you, that is how you can find those things.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like what all the characters found at the end of the show. And what Carrie found is like, by doing that, by not being someone she isn't, and by characters kind of waking up they found what they wanted and they found some sort of like true love. And I don't know if you're always guaranteed those things, but I think that you're better off making like an active choice about them.
Yeah.
So that's what I found. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's been quite the journey that the three of us have gone on and that the four ladies went on. And the last thing we need to do is we're going to do Cosmo rating for the series, for Sex and the City as a series.
We haven't done the final episode, but this will just encompass the whole thing then.
Encompass the final episode and the series as a whole. Or do you want to do two Cosmo ratings?
I'm down for one.
I'm down for one.
All right. Say it at the count of three. What your rating is. 3, 2, 1.
5 Cosmos.
5 Cosmos.
Absolutely. 5 Cosmo show, 5 Cosmo finale. This has been quite the journey.
Incredible.
They stuck the landing. It's rare that you get to see television that is that cathartic and that emotional and touching and funny. It was just like one of the great experiences of my life in watching entertainment. This show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they did it. Hey, if you're listening to this and you've been listening either since the beginning or you just started or whatever, like we said, go rate us on iTunes, follow us on Spotify. We have a Patreon where we do more of these fun episodes, and the podcast is not finished.
It is not finished.
So we are about to go record another episode in a second. We have so many more fun things coming out.
And we can just say that this now. We don't have it scheduled, but we've texted with Cynthia Nixon and with Sarah Jessica Parker, and they're both confirmed they're going to be doing episodes. So, so keep listening because we're going to be sitting down with them. I think if we ask Kristen Davis, she'll do another one too. So those are guaranteed coming your way, and even more better things than that.
Yeah, and the rewatch, the format might be different. We might not take a break and watch it in between, but we're going to be coming packed with discussion points, things to talk about, more goofs, more tangents, all the stuff that you've come to love. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We love
you all. And as always,
abso-fucking-lutely.
Later, taters.
Later, taters.
Bye.
The Bradshaw Boys stars Cory Cavin, Kevin James Doyle, and Jon Sieber. The show is produced by me, Jeremy Balon, and narrated by Katie Sieber. This podcast is part of the Seltzer Kings Network. Check out all their great podcasts at seltzerkings.com. You can find the boys on their socials at The Bradshaw Boys or on their website at thebradshawboys.com. And as always, if you see them in the street, tip your glass. Thanks for listening.